what is up, you guys? My name is Gianna, and I'm here to talk about some more serious stuff. First of all, I'm sorry if I end up coughing because I was sick all week last week, and I was gonna record a video, and I didn't end up getting to because my voice was completely screwed, and so that is why I'm doing it today instead. But yeah, anyway. I'm going to talk about why I decided to drop out of high school, and it hasn't been like the easiest decision at all, just because a lot of people don't see that as a good thing at all. Like, it is probably one of the worst things that you can do is drop out of high school, just because high school dropouts don't end up doing anything great with their life, and like all of this stuff, and like I am constantly like judged for it. A lot of people are like, oh, what are you gonna do then? I don't really know, but I know that it's gonna be perfectly fine. I'm not gonna like drop out and then end up not doing anything. Like, I already have a job. I've had a job since I was still in school, but I was doing online school. So I'm gonna get like really honest, and I'm gonna get really personal. I decided to drop out of high school because I have suffered from depression for like the last 5 years almost. Since it's been like 5 years since I was diagnosed with depression, and like these last 2 Januaries I was hospitalized for suicide attempts and for self-harm. And so I was in the hospital last year for like a day, and then they let me go home. And then this last January, when I was in the hospital, I ended up going into the psych ward, and I was there for like a week. It was really hard because that was obviously not what I wanted to do. That was not where I wanted to be. But I can honestly say that that has made like the biggest difference in my life. And if you are feeling like suicidal or anything, I would recommend going to the hospital before attempting anything, and it honestly helps a lot, especially if you go in and you're willing to help yourself. That would be like my number one suggestion to anyone who's struggling with anything. I also have suffered from really severe anxiety, and so while I was going to school, like even before I went into high school, I cried every single day before school started for like a whole week, and I told my parents I didn't want to go, and I was really upset, and it was like the worst experience. And so eventually, like, people were like, oh, well, high school is what you make of it, so have a positive attitude, like it will get better. It didn't get better. It sucked. It was so bad. I left school, and since I left school, I lost all of my friends. I don't really talk to anyone that I used to go to school with anymore, and that was like really crappy, but like I've made new friends and it's been better. But yeah, school wasn't the best situation for me. I had really bad depression and anxiety, so I would skip school every day pretty much for like a week and a half at a time, and I'd go back for like 3 days and then skip like another week. And so while I was there, I was trying to catch up for like the 3 days that I'd be there, and then I'd go home and not do anything to catch up. And then eventually it just got like really stressful. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to just like not be in public school. So I decided to go to online school, and after like 2 years of like wanting to try that out, my parents finally let me. And since it's been kind of hard. Like, I signed up for online school, but It was because I got out of the hospital, and so I was going to public school still, and I would have like 5 panic attacks a day and like anxiety attacks at the same time. And so I would just end up not going to school, and like I had to talk to a counselor at my school and be like, oh, like I tried to kill myself. So I was in the hospital for a week, which is why I wasn't at school. And that was really hard too, because then I would get my teachers involved because they would have to know. And it was really hard for me just because I felt like the teachers would feel bad for me, because when it happened last year for the first time when I got back to school after being in the hospital, I felt like all of my teachers felt bad for me, which is the only reason I passed their classes. And so that was like really crappy just because I felt like I hadn't earned that grade. And I ended up having to do some summer school anyway. But yeah, and so this last time I was in the hospital, I was really bad. Like, I attempted suicide and I was self-harming pretty bad. I have really bad scars and they're really visible, and I wish that, like now I wish that it was something that I hadn't done, but like when you self-harm, it's really addicting, and so I can't really do anything about it now, so that kind of sucks. But I was going through that, as well as like while I was in the hospital, I talked to a social worker and I finally told him about something bad that had happened, like one of my traumatic experiences pretty much. And I talked to like the psychologist or the doctor or whoever it was afterwards, because he was supposed to prescribe me like some medication because I've tried like a few different ones and they obviously didn't work. And he was like, oh yeah, like you're suffering from really bad post-traumatic stress disorder, like all of your nightmares and like your really bad insomnia, like that's what that is. And it was really scary because I didn't think that I'd ever have that. And so going back to school and like going back to like the real world after being in the hospital for like 5 days was really crappy, because even before I went into the hospital, I didn't eat for 3 days. I didn't eat at all. And so I went in, and like every day you have like different goals that you're supposed to meet, like be nice to everyone, or like finish all like your worksheets, because they'll like give you worksheets to like learn about your mental disorder or illness. And so one of my goals every day was to eat more, because I couldn't eat at all because I hadn't been eating. And that's like one of the worst things that I had to experience, was not eating and then having to eat again. So yeah, I mean, going to school at this time was not the best thing, because I would go to school and nobody knew what was going on except for like the few people that I had told, because I didn't really trust anyone that much. Like, I knew that I shouldn't have, like now that I left school, I know that it was right to not really trust anyone, because not many people are still there for me. Like, they tried to use the excuse that I had like online school or whatever, and like I had to work or whatever, but I was like, no, like I drive, like I do all of this stuff still, like there's no reason you shouldn't be able to talk to me if we're really friends. But going to school at this time was really stressful, just because I would have like really bad like fresh cuts on my skin, or like really bad scars, and like it was not easy to hide, but at the same time people didn't pay enough attention to where I could just walk around like that, and people didn't notice. It was really crappy. And so when I was finally leaving school, I didn't really tell anyone. And like the last day I was there, I was just kind of like, oh, this is my last day, like I'm not going here anymore. Because for the longest time I was like, oh, I think I might do online school, oh, I think I might drop out because it's so stressful. And people are like, don't drop out, that's the worst decision that you could make, like you're not gonna go anywhere in life. But since I dropped out, I have found so much confidence and so much happiness in everything that I do. Like, I have a job, I have new friends that I hang out with, like, they make me so happy, like, they're the best people in my life, and, like, I believe in myself, like, I'm gonna do good things for myself, and I wish that I was old enough to move out, because I probably would, but, that's also really complicated and stressful. But yeah, after all of this time, it's been like really hard to even talk about these things because people don't understand, and I don't want to tell them because it's really complicated and it's not really the easiest thing to explain either. Like, people don't understand why people self-harm, and people don't understand depression and anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder, especially if it's not something they've experienced. It's horrible. It feels so bad, but I've been so much happier within like the last few months, and so I'm trying to keep it that way. Anyway, this video ended up kind of long just because I kind of went back and forth from what I was talking about, and so it might be kind of complicated to understand. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna go now because I have to go to work today too. So, bye!